my card. I'm like, well, he's nice about it. He's like, I'm not coming out there. I'm like, okay. Just leave the card, I'll get it later.
In about 10 seconds, it's quiet on the set, and then also we don't speak after the show is over until they turn on the lights in there, because the show could still be running.
30 seconds, all quiet, please.
America, we stand for freedom. Though freedom is never really free, we yearn and strive for government protecting our liberty.
Good evening and welcome to Your Right to Know by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. My name is Mary Lotze and I will be your co-host this evening. Joining me in the co-hosting duties is my good friend and esteemed former mayor of Fitchburg, Dan Mylott. Thank you, Dan, for joining us this evening.
Nice to be here, Mary.
Tonight we're going to talk about local politics, Boston politics, specifically state politics. So what I've asked Dan to join me as co-host because I think with Dan's reputation in local politics and with the state and his knowledge on what's going on and the importance of fiscal matters and other matters that happen locally, we really need your expertise. So I appreciate you joining us. And let's introduce our panel. So tonight, right in the center, we have State Senator Dean Tran. Dean, of course, won a special election in December of last year, assumed office as State Senator in January of this year. Welcome, Dean. Thank you for joining us. And one of our topics, or our topic tonight, is going to be the team concept that Dean is actually bringing to Beacon Hill. And the team concept consists of my other two individuals, Rich Palmieri from Leominster and Elmer Eubanks-Archbold from Fitchburg. And tonight we're going to talk together, all of us, about the importance of the team concept when you go into Boston, when you go into state politics, in terms of getting Dean's special agenda and his successes, to see those successes continue for the residents of North Central Massachusetts. So we're going to start with Dean, and Dan, I'd like you to take over from here.
Well, Senator, it's very nice to be able to call you Senator after all these years. I'm very proud to be a friend of yours and have worked with you so many years. Now that you're a senator and making all these decisions for us, I'd like to know from you what has been the most important part of the learning experience you've had for the past 9 months.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Mayor, for having me here tonight, and also thank you very much for inviting me here tonight, Mary. It's been quite a pleasure in serving the people in this district. As you know, I was elected last year, and I was sworn into office on January 3rd of 2018. And the first day that I was sworn in, I just got right to work. My staff and I sat down and we put a list together of what the people in my district wanted me to do during my campaign with them. Mm-hmm. And of course, one of the things that we did was that we reached out to all the leaders in the communities that I serve, all the 3 mayors, the town administrators, and the leaderships in all the communities that I serve. I sat down with every single community to listen to them and to ask them what are the priorities that they have that they would like me to work on. And that's what we did. the most important thing for me as a state senator is to serve the people and to make sure that they get the resources necessary in order to move their community forward. And I'm very proud of that fact. In less than 7 months in office, my staff and I were able to secure 54 projects for the communities across my district, totaling $29.6 million. And some of those projects, the towns and cities that I represent have been fighting for decades to get funding. And we're very proud of the fact that we were able to get the funding and secure those projects within the budget and 3 other bond bills.
When you finally got into Boston and to service, have you found any great surprises that you didn't expect?
Actually, there were very little surprises that I encountered. And that was because I'm very acclimated to being able to work with people, to communicate with people and collaborate in order to get things done. There was only one thing that was unexpected for me, and that was the size of the State House. It's quite a maze, and you can actually get lost in the State House. As a matter of fact, I got lost 3 times, and that's how big it is. But other than not being able to find my way around the State House, I've been able to find my way around the process quite easily, and been able to work with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to get things done.
Well, that's commendable, because that's the only way it works, is if we all work together
Absolutely.
to get those things done. There's been a lot of turmoil in Boston with Senator Rosenberg and having a new Senate president, and you're going to have a new president again next year. How are you working through that? How has that impeded things that you wanted to get done, or has it affected you at all?
Actually, the situation with former State Senator Rosenberg provided some distraction to the State Senate in terms of our ability to be able to work on a smooth basis, on a daily basis. The only thing that really had an impact on with State Senator Rosenberg was that we spent 2 days talking about it, and as a body trying to come up with a consensus, a unanimous vote on how we should proceed with a press release for the state senator. But other than that, I did not allow that to get in my way. I promised the people in the district that when I go to Boston, my sole purpose and my focus would be to serve them and to be able to bring the resources home. And that's what I've done.
Well, I think you've done a great job, and I think it shows in the fact that you've got 3 mayors supporting you, and they're all different. One's independent, one's Republican, and one's Democratic. Now that's an accomplishment to be able to say that and to be able to have that support. I think you've done a great job.
I'm very proud of the fact that I received the endorsement of all 3 mayors, and that is, these 3 mayors are very intelligent. These three mayors put their cities above party, and they know that by having someone up in the State House who can represent their interests and be able to bring the funding and secure the projects for them, that way they can move their cities forward, is a very important component of their duty as a mayor. And that's what they did. They endorsed my candidacy for my re-election because I've been able to secure $8.5 million for the city of Leominster, $8.6 million for the city of Fitchburg, and I believe $8.7 million for the city of Gardner, in terms of all kinds of projects, economic development, environmental, you know, it's important that they have someone who is honest and hard-working for them and to represent their interests up in the State House.
You know, the project that they just broke ground for on Summer Street last week is a project that started when I was mayor back in the old ages. And finally, that's getting going. And I think that's another thing that shows that you have been able to push these things through and keep the interest up. That's a very, very important project, that Summer Street project.
It is. Any kind of projects that require infrastructure work is very important to the communities in this district. And it provides economic growth and economic development. And you need someone up in the State House who is proactive enough to get these things going and to secure more funding and projects. A lot of these projects are secured within a bond, and these bond bills are part of a 5-year plan. So that's why it takes that long to get these projects going. But you still need somebody up in the State House to be able to push these projects and get them going.
Absolutely, no question about it. How is it to work in the Senate where you've only got, what, 6 or 7 colleagues, and all the rest are Democrats? How do you work through that quagmire?
So actually, there's 7 Republicans. I represent the 7th Republicans up in the State House, and
Out of 40.
Out of 40. And when I was sworn in, they called us the Magnificent Seven. But just because there's only 7 Republicans up in the State House, that doesn't mean that that's going to be an obstacle for me to work with my other colleagues across the aisle. I've been very successful in doing that. My training in the private sector, for having 23 years experience with working people on 3 continents, being able to communicate effectively and working in a collaboration to get things done. That experience was very beneficial for me when I went to the state Senate. I was able to work with everybody, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. I was able to set aside our differences. And quite frankly, when it comes down to it, it's about what is good for your district, what is good for my district. Let's work together and let's compromise. And at the end of the day, we all win. As long as each and every one of us can come home and tell our district that this is what I've done for you and this is what I brought home.
That, of course, is what's very important, because that's what people look for. Everything about politics is local anyway. We all know that. I'd like you to talk about that concept of team politics that you're promoting. I think it's commendable. I think it's very important, and that's how things get done. But why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it's important to have a teamwork environment, because that's what I'm accustomed to in the private sector. We are not able to get our tasks done, our job completed, because in the private sector, if you don't get those things done, you're not going to be able to recognize the revenue that you're supposed to, and you will put the company you work for in jeopardy. The same concept applies in politics. If you are unable to work with people and get things done, you won't be able to serve the people that you're supposed to serve in your district. And I've been able to do that very effectively, very successfully in the past 7 months. It's also important to have people up in the legislature that you can work well with. And that's why it's important to develop that team mentality, team environment. I can tell you something. I've been able to work with some of my colleagues in the delegation, and I'm very proud of that fact. But we need people up there who can work with me to get things done on the other side.
Very good.
Well, I think what we're hearing with this team concept is almost really tied in, Dan, to what we were speaking about, the Summer Street project. The Summer Street project was sort of tied up in knots for 20 years, dating back to when you were mayor. And that's almost probably 20 years now. And so the sense that people have always said, Beacon Hill doesn't even care about what happens in north central Massachusetts. I think what we're seeing is that probably was somewhat true. And now all of a sudden, when Dean goes to Boston to represent us as our state senator, all of a sudden, Beacon Hill is realizing North Central Massachusetts
Yeah.
really is here, and projects are starting to be done. And so again, Dean, what you've done in only 8 months has just been so exemplary. And then looking now to sort of incorporate at the state legislative level some of individuals who also will carry forth this larger agenda. I think we're going to talk about that now, but I just want our viewers to know how important this really is to breaking through the morass of party politics and really getting some successes moving along.
I would be remiss to not mention that when you're talking about a project like the Summer Street project, it takes a lot of people to come together to get that done and to be able to do the groundbreaking. And those people include the mayors, of course, your state legislators, and matter of fact, the biggest component of getting things done is being able to have a relationship with the governor, the lieutenant governor,
Right, well, that's critical.
the Bacon-Polito relationship administration, and that is a relationship that I have with them, and we should. The district has benefited from that, and
Yes.
I can tell you we'll benefit more as we progress.
So jumping off on that, I'd like to again introduce to our viewers Rich Palmieri from Leominster and Elmer Eubanks-Archbold from Fitchburg. Are there any others that you are also supporting as part of a team? I know there's Ed Gravel out in Gardner, and are there any other individuals within our district, within your district, that we couldn't invite everyone here today? I just want to make sure that their names get mentioned, if at all.
At the beginning of this season, the only two people that I spoke to are the candidates that's sitting to my left and to my right,
Okay.
and that's about it.
Okay, I thank you then for that. And I would like everyone to know that Dean Tran actually did go out and talk to both Richard and Elmer and really encouraged you. I'm not going to say he forced your hand, he did not. But he encouraged you because he knows you both and he values your counsel, your guidance, your background, your opinions to promote the agenda. So, are you guys all ready to go to Boston to be our next state representatives?
Definitely.
I am.
Are you going to help bring back millions of dollars like Dean has in the
We're
state
gonna
senate?
roll up our sleeves and help Dean on the other side of the state rep side, and hopefully bring those funds here too.
Yeah, I think, and what, I don't know, I didn't write it down, and I'm sorry, I did the research. The offset of politics there's 136, is it state reps? Does anybody know? State representatives? A total?
It's about 160 state representatives.
160?
Yes.
And what is the sort of difference of Republicans or Democrats?
I believe there's about 40 or 43 Republican.
Okay, so again, it's a very
representatives.
minority
Yes.
position, even in that on the state. Okay. Following in, I'll ask both of you the same question, and Richard, you can go first. Okay. But following in Senator Tran's footsteps, are there any key areas that you specifically would like to sort of focus on when you go to Beacon Hill?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I'm out knocking on doors and I'm talking to people, they all say the same thing. They want to bring back money for our schools. Mm-hmm. The community cares about the education of their children, and our infrastructure is also crumbling. We need our roads fixed, and just everything that the senator's done for our district so far is just to keep it rolling, keep the ball moving, and keep helping him do the things that he's doing. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the city of Leominster or in Fitchburg, everybody needs the same thing. We're not different, really. Mm-hmm. So it's just assisting him getting the things that all the communities in his district need.
Mm-hmm. Elmer?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is really listening to our community, and I think that's what Dean's done. He's listened to all the community and figured out what is it that they're asking for. Mm-hmm. And I think if we can work together in bringing those issues to bear, education, like you mentioned, is a big one. I'm an educator. I've worked in economic development, so I could see us helping more in the economic development sense. And really, the biggest thing that people ask is our roads. You know, I was talking to the mayor about that before too. It's always an issue, and hopefully, try to, what Dean's been doing to really bring the money back to fix the infrastructure. I think that's really important for all of us.
Because of your background in economics and community development, didn't you just get a endorsement from a group?
Yes, the NFIB, the small business, so we got that endorsement. I think Dean got that one as well, so yeah, I believe
Wonderful.
I think it was the same people that endorsed both of us. Yeah.
One of the things that, as I was collecting signatures early on in the campaign for both Senator Tran and for you, Elmer, in Fitchburg, people would come up to us outside Market Basket, and they're still extremely angry over the legislators voting themselves in a pay raise. That happened in January 2016. It was a year before Dean took office. But it still sticks in the craw of so many voters, because these are hard times. The economy's certainly getting better, but it wasn't just about 2 years ago. And to see a group of people just go in and sign a pay raise for themselves was really very disconcerting. I know, Senator Tran, you took a pledge that you would not ever vote yourself in a pay raise. Let me ask both of you, how do you feel about that? And would you just succumb to the greed of wanting to vote yourself in a pay raise?
I would definitely follow Dean's footsteps on that, and basically say that no, I would not vote myself a pay raise or vote against it. And actually, we should be voting a pay raise for our residents by lowering their taxes.
Lowering their taxes.
So that would be the pay raise that I would want to support.
I say this to everybody who asks me this question. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm a firm believer that you're either part of the solution or part of the problem. I don't believe anybody, unless you own the company, has a right to vote themselves a pay raise. So not only will I not vote for a pay raise, I will not, as long as I hold the office, accept a pay raise either.
Mm-hmm. I have to ask you, because running for political office is fraught with complications and stumbling blocks along the way. I mean, you give up your private lives, you give up your family time. It's a very difficult endeavor to do. Was Dean a very good salesman, or why do you want to run for office? What is it about the state representative? Is it watching the success of Senator Tran that's given you the impetus to go forward in part, or could you explain what's making you want to take this journey? It's a difficult one.
All right, I'll start with that one. He's a great guy. I'm not gonna lie. From the moment I met him, I was impressed with the man himself. Ever since he took office, and I helped him on his campaign to get him elected. If I didn't believe in him, I wouldn't have done it. I believe in his message. I believe in the way he does business. He's an honest guy, and but believe me, he's a good salesman too. Because this has been it's been a real awakening to just how things are really done. And I've helped a lot of candidates on their campaigns, from state level to local level, and I don't know, maybe I had blinders on because I didn't see a lot of the things that I'm experiencing now. But it's a fight, but I'm used to fights, so I'm going to hang in there.
Yeah, how about you, Elmer?
No, I think it's really, having someone that's taking that step and leading, that we could also feel that, hey, we can also lead with him. And I think that's really the critical thing. Dean was there when I called on him, and I think that's what what we need, people that will respond when you call them and say, hey, I can, if I can't solve your problem, I'm going to be there for you. And I think that's what the citizens are really looking for, that, where people, he's responsive, you call him, you text him, he'll respond. So I think that pushed me over to say, I want to be that other person that really feels that people can reach out to and say, hey, I need your help, and you can count on us rolling up our sleeves and figuring out how to make it happen.
Of course, Dean started in the city of Fitchburg as our councilor at large, and was known for your responsiveness to the people. So you've carried that over now as state senator, and now we have two that will do that also, which is so wonderful. Dan,
Dean, what do you have in mind for the next 2 years? What's on your plate for getting things done? in your
Well,
your first full term?
So when I ran last year, I spoke to a lot of people. Those people included teachers, firefighters, police, veterans, the elders, the working population. And the promises I made to them, I actually carried them through and delivered on all of them. If I am honored enough to be re-elected and the people vote for me to put me back in office, the next term would be a term that I would be placing a focus on education and infrastructure. Those are the two biggest things that I would be pushing for, because I believe that all the communities that I serve in my district have been neglected for a long time, and all the money that have gone into infrastructure work, roads, bridges, streets, and everything else have been dedicated to towns and cities to the east of 495, which is Boston. So now it's time for us to be able to bring some of those investment to our communities, and that's one of the things that I will be fighting hard for, is that more investment in infrastructure work, and as well as education. Education is very important because, as you know, I'm a product of the public school system, as well as I have 4 kids who are in the public schools. The things that I said I was going to do this year, I've done them all. I help increase funding for schools to the highest level ever, and we were going to pass an education bill that would change the landscape of funding. It would change the formula, the Chapter 70 formula, which is something that everybody have been fighting for, and we did that in the Senate. My colleagues and I gave my maiden speech, and we unanimously voted for that. And when it went to the conference committee, where we reconcile with the House of Representatives, it didn't pass because of our members in the House of Representatives. So that is the other thing that I will be fighting hard, and we have to start from scratch again in the next term.
Dan, we just ran out of time. Our show has to close. I know. I'm just going to ask Rich and Elmer to face your camera for 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and tell the voters why you should be considered.
Okay. I want to go to work for the city of Leominster. I don't feel like right now that our current representative is actually doing that. We have a governor who works across party lines. We have a senator who does the same thing, but we don't have a representative for the city of Leominster that does that. And I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to go to work and fight and actually bring money back and do something for our city that's not being done now, and to assist our senator to do the same thing for the whole district. I believe in him and I believe in his message, and that's why I'm doing this. So I ask you for your vote on November 6th.
Thank you. Elmer?
Yes, so thank you, and I'd like to ask the voter out there that we're representing to take a look at our background and vote for us all together, and vote for me, and hopefully bringing your message there and fighting for your issues and making a difference in the community. As somebody that's going to listen to you and hopefully bring those issues forward that you are fighting for, and roll up my sleeves like Dean has and really go to work for you. That's what I'm asking your vote, to work for you, and work for you, not for me or for my pocket, work for you. And I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Dean, 10 seconds.
Well, the towns and cities that I represent have never seen the kind of attention that they're getting from the past legislators, and I'm giving that attention to them. So we are moving forward. Let's keep on moving forward, and I'm asking for your support and vote.
We thank you for watching Your Right to Know and sitting in with us tonight at the FRCC. As we leave you, we want you to know that your local city or town Republican Committee is the only grassroots organization that supports and holds dear your liberty, your constitutional rights, and your conservative values. We encourage you to join us. Why? Because we always stand for freedom. Thank you and good night.
America, we stand for freedom. So let us all unite to yearn and strive for our republic that reflects our values, that preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might, that reflects our values, and preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might.